Hello everyone, welcome back to the table. Now what we're going to do today is rig the first-rate ship. This is the first-rate ship from the British starter set, Royal Navy Fleet from Black Seas. And after I rig this, I'm going to have to go back and finish up some painting, because as you handle it to rig it, what I've experienced from the past is some of the paint wears off, like especially off the cannons. And this has a lot of cannons, and so I'm going to go back and redo some of the ochre color on the side, because I'm trying to do that Nelson checker, and that's a lot of work. That's a lot of cannons, and I don't get it quite perfect. Anyway, so a lot of paint is going to rub off just from experience. Now, I have tried on a couple other models to like put a matte finish, so when I'm handling them that's not an issue. So I've tried like Army Painter anti-shine stuff in the past, and I also bought recently this Kryolan matte finish. The only problem that I have with those is that sometimes, and it's just sometimes, they leave a white misting, and then it totally ruins the look of the ship. So you know, I'm just kind of gonna skip spraying them. I've seen some modelers on YouTube, they use like hairspray, so maybe in the future I'll get some hairspray. But basically what's gonna happen is when I'm done, I'm just gonna go back and just touch up the cannons and try to make the area look a little prettier where I actually handle it at. The other issue that I had with the first-rate ship is that and someone pointed this out to me, and I can't believe well, I can believe it, but I totally missed this when I did the unboxings for the ship, is there's no holes in the side of the ship for the rigging, so you can do the side stabilized rigging. So I had to find my little hand drill here, and I drilled a hole. Now the thing is, because I haven't found any instructional videos or anything that talks about rigging the first-rate ships. Some pictures from like Warlord with their rigging done, but it didn't really explain where I should do this. So I just kind of picked some spots that looked aesthetically pleasing to put the holes, and drilled in the hole. So right up here you can see, and then right here, right before one of the cannons, and then back here after I attached one of the lifeboats, I drilled right in between the supports for the boat. So it's like, yeah, you know, those could or could not be accurate, but that's just the spots I picked, because again, I can't find any instructions. Now, if you go to do this yourself, one thing to be careful is the spots that I picked, up here the front hole, it actually went really well. It didn't touch the deck. But this middle one, because this area here kind of juts out a little bit, I found that's close to the hole here where it would be thinnest on the resin, and drilled, and it just clears the deck, no problem. But here on the back where I did it between the supports for the boat, if you do this yourself, you know, and that's the spot you choose as well, try to angle up as much as possible, because I went in straight and I did both sides just so I could equally ruin the hole, but it does touch the hole, and it does cut into some of the planking on the top. So if you can, you know, just go right below this solid piece of resin, right to where the hole is thinnest, right between the two supports for the boat, angle up as much as you can, and try to clear that the decking if you can. So that was the only thing, is I just had to drill those holes, and then I'm going to go back and retouch the cannons. The cannons didn't turn out as good as I wanted anyway, and there's a few spots I just want to touch up for, you know, aestheticness. Otherwise, the ship looks the same as the other ships, you know, as far as the rigging will go, because it's a 3-mast rigging. And what I did this time to help myself out is, instead of always flipping back to the book, the camera's kind of close to the table, but I went ahead and printed these out from the Warlord website. these are the same pictures that are in the book, but they had them that you could click and blow up on, like if you had a your web browser, and I just printed them. The only problem is the second one turned out small, but I've built enough of these that I kind of understand. You just follow the red threading. So this image here didn't blow up big, but then the rest of these are fine, and they do a pretty good job of showing what the rigging looks like, and mine come pretty close to that. And then it's got like a blow up picture here of the rigging through the hole in the ship. Now this is the frigate, but it's 3-masted, so 3-mast ships are just fine. Now the only thing is when we get to the bowsprit that might be a little different is the bowsprit on the first rate has, you got these two parts that stick out. So what I'm thinking is that what I'll do, I haven't quite figured out. I'm going to look at some pictures if I can find them for the first rate and see how to do the bowsprit. Because see this here, like, you start here, go to an end, comes down to one of the points that hold like the anchors, and then up here, and obviously you've got extra parts, so you gotta go here, here. Maybe that's what I'll do, is it'll just go like from here to the tip there. It'll just make a really long kind of diamond, and then come down to maybe this tip here, and then up. Yeah, that's probably what I'll do. It'll just be a long diamond kind of shape. Yeah, I don't think it'll hurt anything. Yeah, that's probably what we'll do. Because we'll come down here, draw a line there, and then back up. It'll just hit all those parts. And then the one picture it doesn't show is then underneath they'll have a rigging that goes from the tip down to the bottom of this part here that comes down. So that's probably what we'll do with the bowsprit. But anyway, we got pictures there. That way it's just easier for me to see, and it's easier than me having to flip and hold the book open and ruin the little spining on it. Well, anyway, that was just kind of the introductory talk there to rigging the first rate. Yeah, now I'm not a good painter, but just in case people are curious, I had some Apple Barrel and some Games Workshop paints. So this was an Apple Barrel Sunburst, which is kind of that puke yellow ochre-ish color that the British is how I read it described. And then I used just some various browns from Games Workshop to do some of these parts, and then just black. I mean, really, there's just a few colors, and I used a gold kind of from Games Workshop, a gold here on the front, and then they had like Rune Fang silver, and that's just part of the figurehead there to make it look kind of goldy, and then the gold on the back here to kind of give a little shine on the back and to help show off some of the detail, and then white. That's pretty much it. And then again, the deck, because I used British Armor tan to base coat the whole thing, what I did here for the deck is that then I just went over with an Argax Earth shade from Games Workshop, and that just kind of fills in the planks, kind of turns it a wood color. And then the inside was a like on the insides it was just like a Nurgle purple that I found, kind of a reddish Nurgle-y color. I guess I should actually tell you the colors, but basically just find some stuff that it looks like wood for browns, and then that kind of a yellowish ochre color, black, and that's it. Nothing too fancy. The sails were the white, but then I took some of the Nuln oil to get in there, so you can see depth on the sails. So the color is not that complicated. It's just that I'm not very good with painting in the first place, so just put enough colors so that a few feet, if you stand back a few feet from the board, they look good. And then once we rig it and put some sails, this will look quite proper. For example, I don't have I'd have to reach. I've got them over on a table. But, you know, once you're done and a few feet out and you've got them rigged, they look pretty good, you know? So your paint jobs aren't going to make or break it too badly. Just give it a try, and then the rigging. Alright, so I'm going to take a little break. We'll come back and we'll start putting some thread to the pewter. And this is the hesitation I've had, is the pewter is so much more bendy than the plastic. So I've been afraid to even really start this because I don't know how this will hold up to the threading. But again, just get past that fear and dive in, and we should be good. And I've got, what were these small, oh, the gunboats. I was like, what are these small sails to? Oh, the gunboats. Alright, anyway, like I said, I'll take a little break. You won't even notice the break, but I'll come back and we'll start rigging. Alright, so here we go. We're going to start. I've got super glue ready. I just make sure it's ready to come out when I need it. I just opened this one. I should have checked that. Okay, it's there. Okay, so we got glue. What we're going to do first is attach from the bottom up to the middle. I know it says like A down to B, but if you attach down here and then run thread up to the middle mast and then down to the front of the bowsprit, that's the easiest. So like A, B, C. And we're going to do a single wrap here. So we're going to wrap down here at the bottom, attach with a little bit of glue, run it up here, wrap around the mast, and then run it down here to the bowsprit and do the same thing. So we've got the thread here. I'm going to, hopefully you can see it. Now this isn't from the side view very well that you can see, so I am just going to kind of from top down, but we're going to wrap it around the bottom. I just mostly just need to worry about making a single kind of knot there. And because that's like the first pull, I'm going to try and keep this close to the mast, not a whole lot of excess on here. So I'm pulling this tight. Now again, I understand the way the camera angle is, you can't really see how I've pulled that in. Now it's not at the very bottom of the mast, it's just right on that first ring is where it caught. And that's fine, because the picture shows it right at that first ring. So it's almost like a natural place for that to be. So I'm going to make sure that's fairly tight. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a dab of glue on that. And the glue really does help hold everything in place. And then when it dries, whatever knot you made, it helps make those knots really, really tight. So we're just going to give that a second. Then what I'll do, while that's drying, is I'm pulling that string kind of off to the side a little bit, and it rotates the string at the base, only because when I start to pull the threading up, the threading is on the side of the mast and not like on the very front and whipping around. But anyway, we're going to now take it here to the bottom of the second mast and give it a single wraparound. And we're going to try and get that in here. Boom, boom, boom. Careful. And the thread. Now when the thread first goes up there, it's kind of pulled down a little bit. I'm going to see if I can. I'm trying to keep that tight so we don't have a lot of slack. But I want to move the thread up to the bottom as close as possible here. So I'm just going to grab the tweezer and kind of work it up. And then again, give it just a little snug pull. And that's about as high up as I can get that on there. And again, I'm just going to put a little dab of glue, because again, that's what kind of helps hold everything in place. And then just again, now it's already getting some slack because it's pulling, and that's what I was afraid of with the pewter. The pewter is a little more fragile, if you will, than the plastic, so it's going to be a real chore to keep everything nice and tight. But just pulling the thread as best I can, holding the mast, pulling the thread tight. Because part of this too is when you let go of the thread, because you're doing loops, is, you know, it comes loose a little bit. And I over pulled it. So this middle section is kind of borked up a little bit, but we can tighten that. We've got tricks to tighten that. Does involve a little bit of glue though. Alright. So I pulled too tight and broke the thread. So I'm going to put a little dab of glue, and then I'm going to push the thread up into the new bit of glue that I poured there. And that will help to pull some slack out. And then we'll just wrap another thread around. So there we go. Now as that dries, see the slack is coming out. And then we're going to wrap. Going to have to wrap again. So I have to make another knot there to fix the part that broke. So I'm making these really wide as far as the knot goes initially, just so I can actually get in here and tie a single knot. Working with thread is not my strength, but come on. Alright, so now we're going to pull that tie. Oh, that totally missed. Ay, ay, ay. Alright, here we go again. There we go. Single knot, single knot. And we're going to pull that close. We're going to drop just another dab of glue up there. I mean, that's the thing, is you're trying to avoid over gluing and over threading, but sadly there's going to be spots that have a bit of glue as you try to get this all set up. Alright, so we're just going to make sure that that knot is snug. So again, I just kind of pull both ends of the thread, which are probably hard to see, but now this is actually going to come down, and it's going to, I'm just looking here, there's some loose threading. I'm probably going to have to use my X-Acto blade. Alright, yeah, there's where the thread broke. So I'm going to have to be very careful where I cut, just to make sure I get all the loose thread. But see, now this other piece of the thread, see, so again, just, I know I've mentioned this in other videos, if you make a oops or something happens, it's really not that detrimental. Just pick up where you left off, run some more thread, and run it through. So it's not horrible if a mistake happens. Now this wraps around the base of that bowsprit mast there. It goes underneath between the figurehead and the mast. So I am just going to cut some excess here. That way I can tie it off. And luckily there's a nice big old gap here between the figurehead and the bowsprit mast. So I'm just going to run that under in between. And make sure it is underneath the masts. It's catching on different parts of the ship here. There we go. And then I'm going to do basically a single wrap, and then we're going to glue it. So right now I'm kind of holding it, I'm holding the thread tight here to keep some pressure up. I'm going to put just a dab of glue on the wrap right here. There we go. And that is the first bit of rigging right there. Alright, not as scary as I thought. I mean, one advantage with the pewter is if there is a little bit of slack, you can probably manipulate the masts in different spots because the pewter is soft, to try and manipulate some of the slack that might appear. But I'm not going to cut any of these excess threads yet until we get some more rigging and we let stuff dry. The glue dries fairly quickly, so even like the little mistake and oops I made up here is starting to dry, and it's going to help hold some tension there. Alright, now the other bit of rigging is going to be from the bottom of that middle mast up to the middle portion of the back mast. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start off with making a knot down here, but because I've already got some rigging in the way, we're going to run under the first bit of rigging and then wrap around the base here and make our first knot. And again, single knots are good because you're going to use some glue to hold it in place. Now what I need to do is, one, make sure the previous thread is out of there, and then as I pull this tight, I'm going to use my tweezers to put that down at the bottom of that middle mast. And again, the angle I'm at where you're looking top down is probably difficult to see. So I'm just going to twist this here to the side a little bit for you. See, so I'm going to pull this tight and then use the tweezers to shove that down all the way. Of course, my hands are in the way so you can't see either. But we're going to put that down. Yeah, and that's pretty much near the base. Close enough. So I'm going to put the dab of glue and then pull that tight again. And that glue is going to hold that single knot. There we go. Pull both ends. And it's now tight against the mast. And now I got to be careful not to pull too tight because I'll break thread. Alright, but that is on there now. And again, we have to wrap up around the middle. So I'm just going to take it and just go right there. And I got to make sure it gets underneath that stand. And this is where I really need that third hand. Now as I pull that, you'll see, when it's pretty loose there, but as I pull and get some slack out, we now have tension on that other piece of rigging on the bottom. And we're going to stick the dab of glue to help hold that in place. Because again, it's just a single wrap of the thread. And I found that with the ships this size, just a single wrap and glue is good versus trying to make multiple knots to hold things tight. So the little dab of glue works out really good, and it dries mostly clear. Again, that's going to depend on your brand of glue. So what I'm going to do is actually cut this close here to the ship as I can get with my little scissors. There we go. There you go. I'm going to go ahead check for tension, pull down on that line a little bit as the glue dries. Again, pulling on the lines, all of it is just to help create at least the illusion of tension. And then I can cut, and again, because it's pewter, I can bend that in place a little bit. I'm going to grab some of these excess threads and cut them as close as I can get. Okay, what's this one? All right, that's up here. Well, it's trying to cut. I'm trying to cut it. Alright, there we go. scrap thread, and then that was some scrap. It's like cutting the thread all the way through like I want, except for like one little tiny bit, which is then pulling on the thread and causing it to turn in a way that I don't want. So let's push this down. I'm going to glue down here a little bit and then push the thread more into place where I want it, thus putting more tension back on there. Because until it dries in place, it does tend to shift a bit, and then you get problems with your tension. So push the glue down. Alright, gonna let that dry. I can tell this one here came loose. Yeah, the creating the tension is the biggest problem here. But that's on all of them. It's creating the tension, because it's like you'll get something tied, you get it set, and then it's like you come back to it and somehow it's lost its tension. Alright, but what we'll do before I worry too much about, making all the tension correct, is put a lot more rigging on, only because, again, as you're applying rigging, it comes off. Now see, already, because I'm holding things here by like the cannons, I'm already rubbing some paint off. That was something we talked about earlier, is I'm going to have to come back and refinish that because the sprays I have actually whiten the model. They don't actually protect it the way that I want. So I was a little disappointed with that. Alright, so find some excess right here. Thread. Okay, that one's off. And it cut through. Fudgers. It cut the excess, but then I cut the part I didn't want cut. Oh, we're not off to a good start. Alright, so what I'm going to do is cut the excess here. And we're going to come back and repair the part that I cut. Again, maybe this was all planned to show you that if you make a mistake, you can fix it. Just go back and re-rig it. So I'll be right back after I re-rig it, and we'll take a look at step 2. Alright, so we fixed it. So even though I botched it, came back, just reran the thread, and it's fixed. What I'm going to have to do though is, this is the part I was worried about, is yeah, these pewter masts are definitely super bendy. The plastic holds in place really well, but these pewter ones are definitely going crazy. So I can't do a whole lot of tightening of rigging until I get it in, because yeah, it's just gonna pull crazy. But there it is. We've got this is step 1. So we got the back part and the middle masts. So let's take a look at the second one here, because I can see spots where I'm going to, I wouldn't necessarily re-rig, but I'm gonna do some more glue to help get some tension on there. Yeah, and I'm just rubbing more paint off of the cannons as I go. Yeah, I was afraid of that. I wanted to paint the whole thing, that way I wouldn't mess up sails or rigging with paint, but since I don't have a good varnish to coat the ship with, I'm just going to have to accept the fact that some of this paint's going to rub off in my fingers and then go back. Okay, so step 1 is done. I'll put that here. Step 2. Now this is the step that wouldn't blow up big for me to see, but we're going to go from, and it's blurry, so that's great, but we're going to go from the middle. So we're going to do like a single wrap and glue there. It's going to do a single wrap around here, pulls up around the top of that mast, goes here. So we're going to go, we're going to tie here from the middle. It's going to go up here, around here once. It goes up, wraps around here, goes over here, right below here, down here, and then it goes here. So this is kind of a weird routed one. So it's going to go there to there, up here. Let's see. I want to make sure I plan this one out because it doesn't match the frigate exactly. But from the middle probably up to this point here, then up right above here, so there's a little bit of rigging here, and then it comes like almost straight across here, down. Yep. Alright, so let's start with that. So we're going to make a loop. Again, this middle section is going to fill up rather quickly with thread. You got to get that, avoid getting it under the mast, and keep it from hitting all the other stuff. Alright, come on. I tell you, grabbing this thread is kind of a pain here. Got it! And of course, we're going to do a single pull. Now there's some glue on there. I can feel the glue catching. So I'm probably not going to add another bit of glue. But I just pull that tight so it's right up underneath there. And then follow my path. It says it comes up under this part here. So we're going to do a wrap. Now, I mean, I can see what I'm doing, and I know this top-down view doesn't let you see very well, so I apologize for that. But I'm very carefully threading here. We're going to put this up. What I'm going to do is put a dab of glue here. So I'm going to turn this on its side. I'm going to push this thread up as close as I can get to that part. And I'm going to put some glue. And I might not be able to get that as snug up there as I want. But let's put a dab. The glue is just leaking out of that bottle. Alright, there's some glue. So I'm pulling with some tension, and we're going to push that up. Up, 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 up. The glue is already catching that thread there. So that is up under that mast, well, that connector point there. It's drying already. Then the picture shows that it comes up and it like wraps around the top here. So I'm going to put a dab of glue here to hold that wrap in place. Well, actually I might not need to, but it does run the middle here. So yeah, we're going to put a glue drop. Alright, getting glue on my fingers, that's great. Now, I'm trying not to pull too tight, because I can tell as I was trying to keep it tight, it was causing some slack to build in the parts I already have. And I am going to cut this long thread out of the way. That way I'm going to go back later to try and cut stuff. I'm cutting just that one. Alright, so that one's out of the way. And that way I can kind of plan how to get that. What I might do is just cut a really long piece of thread now, because I know it has to wrap a couple spots. So I'm going to guesstimate how much thread I'm going to cut, because I can't really run that spool everywhere. We're just going to cut a really long piece of thread here, which is one thing, a tip I've had before. Like, don't worry about overusing the thread. They give you a lot of thread. I hate wasting thread, and when I first started rigging, I tried to conserve a lot, but it made running that bob through different things kind of difficult. So then I just got to a point where I said, you know what, just cut it. Use a lot of thread. Alright, so this is going to wrap around here once. I'm not going to glue it there because that's on itself pretty good. And then it comes down here to the middle. And again, just trying to get it underneath the different items. There we go. And what I will do is I am going to put a dab there. So I'm going to hold that with my couple of my fingers down here. Put the dab. Again, get that some of that slack out of there. And now it's supposed to go here. It shows it underneath like this first one. Again, that might be a little different because this is a first rate, and it has got extra bits that the third rates and the frigates don't have. So this might not be exactly where that one has to go, but that's where I'm going to put it as a best guess. So drop my glue, get that tight a little bit, and now as you can see, pulling it tight to get some slack out is causing a little bit of slack in other spots, but there's not a whole lot I can do with that until I get more rigging in, because it's just a balancing act of, you know, pulling tight, getting slack out, pull tight, get slack out. Let the glue dry right there. Now this did create for me a rather lengthy piece of excess thread, which I'm okay with because when I get a long piece like this, I can set that aside and use that for repair work. You know, you get some pieces that are pretty short that you are confident that you can't do anything with, but then sometimes you end up with a long piece that, yeah, I'll just set that aside. I can use that to repair. But there we go. So we've got, so far that's the second step. So we've got a piece down here that we'll have to pull some slack out of. This one is trying to maintain some tension there, but we've got some rigging there in the middle already. Yay, starting to look like a ship. Alright, step 3. This is where we're going to do some rigging, and I had to drill the holes that I showed you earlier because we had to run from the top of the mast down, run the thread from the outside up through the hole, up to the middle of the mast area, down and around. This is like a really long piece of thread. So that one, I usually will start with that attached to the bob as well, and just kind of start to get an idea of how much slack I'm going to have to actually cut. Alright, so that one is this back mast. So again, it starts about in the middle. The wrap will be about in the middle, and then I got a hole drilled down here, which I think you can kind of see. But let's go ahead and get this part here. I'm gonna make a pre-looped single knot. Of course, I'm doing that off the camera, so we're just gonna get a pre-looped single knot here. That way, when I put the glue, I'm gonna put the glue here. This thing is losing a lot of glue. I'm going to put it on the middle, and that's where I'm going to put this, and we're going to pull tight right into the glue, and that will hold. And then I just kind of guesstimate, I'm just going to cut a lot of thread here. That way I can start to run it through things. And again, I really dislike having to use so much thread, but when you're not sure, go big or go home. Alright, so we are attached at kind of the middle of the top of that mast, like the picture shows. So we're going to rig through the hole. And there's the hole that I made. And we're going to run that through. You know, I was afraid the hole would be too big, but I'm having just as much trouble getting through here as I do the other ships. Okay, that one went through. So I'm going to grab my tweezers. The only problem with super glue is everything sticks to it. Yeah, hey, great. It lives up to its name. Alright, grab that with the tweezers so I can get... Don't fail me now, tweezers. Okay, now we got to make sure that as I pull this tight, it's not getting stuck on the ship and all kinds of other little bits. And it's got to be on the back side of all those arms on the mast. There we go. There, that's the first pull. And now we're going to run that up because it says it wraps around the middle. Now for this ship, well, it's going to be this connector here where we wrap around, so kind of near the top. So I guess that's not quite the middle. But it is going to require me to pass the thread around. I feel like putting it on the top, but it does show it on the bottom. But I'm going to grab the thread and we're going to tweezer pull it through here. Alright. So again, I'm just trying to make sure it avoids catching all the bits and pieces on the back of the ship here as well. And it did. It just went up under the boat that I don't want it to do. Okay. Go, go, go. Alright. That is up there. But again, the problem with running this under is it doesn't quite go up all the way. You got to really kind of manipulate this to get it to fit up under. And it's getting stuck on some glue that's already there. Come on, there we go. Pull tight. So we're just trying to get this rigged up here pretty good. There we go. Alright, there. That's probably about as good as I can get. I know you can't quite see at the moment, but there's some glue already there. Now the problem is I can tell where one of these threads got into the wrong spot. That was causing the problems. You know, I'm just not seeing how they want it to fit there in the way that it's working. I'm going to pull that out a little bit. I think what I'm going to do, just so I get the tension I want, is I'm going to put it on the top here. I'm going to put it on the top of this. It's supposed to go underneath it, but I think just for the way that things are working out, I'm going to actually kind of rest that on top. So I got to run the thread through here. I'm actually going to cut this excess off now because it is starting to get in the way. Alright. Now, I know you can't quite see everything from the angle that I'm at. I wonder, I don't know if I can move the camera in a way that you can kind of see it down. I'm just trying to plan out how to do this part. So that's the part when you don't have the exact instructions for the same ship you're doing here. Alright, I'm going to wrap it this way. And I'm going to grab it here. Alright. It's just a matter of making sure it doesn't get caught on all these little bits and pieces. Okay, there we go. Now I have to wrap it around. So all the while keeping everything fairly tight and where I want. I'm going to have to wrap this around. Okay, got it so far, but now, because again you can't see, all the thread is getting stuck on all these different masts. And I have to pull this up. Alright, it slowly get into where I want it. Now, it's just a matter of convincing the thread that that's where it needs to be to make this work. So I'm going to get some tweezers here. Alright, where? I've got thread here, and I can't. There we go. Can't is not a word. I have challenging thread. That is a word. Get it up just a little bit more. Alright, that is more what I wanted. I'll show you that here in a second. I'm going to drop a dab of glue. You know, there's our buddy glue. Whew. Alright. Man. So we've got that. Okay, so I'm going to make sure. Alright. Yep, that's what we're going to do. Because now I got to run this through the hole from inside out and then back up to the top. What I'm doing is just looking here at the top where there was a glob of glue. Alright. Man, yeah, this pewter is so fragile. Alright, so now we're going to try and drive this thread from the inside out of that hole in the back. I couldn't find my usual tweezers, so I'm trying to use these, and they are not as good. They are not as good, and they're driving me bonkers. Because I got this, you know, the other hole that I drilled, so I gotta try and... Haha! Got it. Okay. So now I'm trying to pull the tweezers out without... I just bent that mast horribly. Alright, here we go. Pulling the thread now. Pulled it out the wrong way. Oh man. Alright, one more time here. Through the hole. I got it. Alright, I don't know why that didn't work last time, but here we go. We got the thread. I'm going to pull it on this side. Well, I was till I dropped it. Okay. There we go. And then that's got to come up here around this top again. Which we're going to put just that dab of glue. Yabba dabba do. Yabba dabba glue. And then I'm going to take time because, yeah, these pewter masts are all over the place now. Like the plastic masts, they hold their position really well. But pewter, being that soft metal, you push on it and it tends to stay. Alright. And now we have a lot of slack everywhere. So we're going to try and bend that. Bend that. Whew, yeah, man. Kind of bend it. Oh man. That went to the top. It's got slack everywhere and the mast is bent. So now I got to go back and re-straighten them as well. I'm telling you, this is definitely a challenge with the pewter here, trying to keep things in line and straight up and down. But it is definitely a challenge. Alright, well there, I think we'll take a little break from that and we'll come back and do another bit of rigging, which will be not quite the middle line again, but it'll be running a line from the back just along the tops to the middle. Yeah, kind of this top here and then down to another part of the bowsprit. So we'll do that here in a second. I gotta take a break from that. Alright, so we're gonna do the next step. One thing I did was I got rid of the green mat because I think you can see the thread better. And you can tell when I was talking about the slack. See, these were snug when we started out, but as we start to put the rigging in elsewhere, you start to get tension, or, you know, well, not tension, you start to get slack. So we're gonna, when we're done, we got to go back and figure out how to pull all this slack out. And I was kind of playing around like where I could pull and glue to tighten up. So I've kind of given it a little bit of thought, but hopefully you can see the threading better. So what we had to do now is run some thread from here, this midsection. It's going to go across the top here, down to underneath here, and then down to this spot here. I believe we'll make that work. Alright, so we're going to grab, now I'm wondering, I got a long piece of thread left over and that might be long enough. That's why I kept the thread. So I'm not throwing away all of this thread, but we're going to keep some of it and hope that it is long enough. So I'm going to put a loop in here. Again, we're going to go back to that single knot nonsense here. That's probably the biggest challenge, is just getting this initial knot done here. Got it. Boom. Alright. Gonna pull some of the slack out of it. Alright, and that's going back here. And then, like a lot of that stuff, we're going to put the little dab of glue here, open up the glue. There's already a lot of glue on that particular spot, but a little more won't hurt, right? Go big or go home. So, hold that tight. And it's just a matter of running it from the top to the top here. And like I said, on most of these we could probably just do like a single wrap. And then it goes here. And it's got below here. Like that. Again, no glue yet, because I think what I can do is run it here. And it's going on the front there. And we'll give that a single wrap. Now if I hold that like so, I'm going to put the glue, and all that other stuff should hold pretty well. I'm just going to let that congeal and dry for a minute. And then, yeah, it's just going to be a matter it was tight, and then you start to, yeah, it's this pewter. The problem that I'm having with the pewter versus the plastic is the plastic masts, when you pull on them and you let go, they go back to where they were. Pewter, because it's a soft metal, you pull on it, it'll change its shape, and it doesn't bounce back to anything. It keeps that shape. So this has been a little tricky getting the rigging just the way I want it, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, so that one long excess piece, I just used it, so I'm going to go ahead and trim here this front piece of thread off of there. Perfect. Close enough. Again, once you look at it from a couple feet, they look pretty good. But you got some rigging on the back, in the middle there between the masts. Whew, alright. So now, that was this step here. The next step is going to be another middle part running from the hole. So you start at the top of the mast, from the outside to the inside of the hole, come up here to the middle-ish, and then on the other side go from the inside out and back up to the top. And then this time it's going to continue on to go across the top of the masts and then down to the bowsprit. So that one is also going to need a long piece of thread. I just hate working with really long pieces of thread, because as you can tell, it was a real pain to try and get all the thread to go quite where I want it. But now we're going to do it again. So we're going to start at the top. Start at the top. So we're going to start at the top middle here. So we're going to pre-knot again. Pre-tie the knot. Just made me think of a marriage vow. But there you go. We got a knot right there. So that's going to go boom. So I'm going to go ahead and put a dab of glue there. And it was all right. Everything will be all right. And pull that snug. It is in the glue. All right. And then again, we got to overestimate how much thread to use, because it's got to go, both sides of the mast and then wrap around. Yeah. So we're going to just cut a long piece. Longer. Definitely a long piece here. Alright, normally it's not the size of the thread that matters, but how you use it, but this is kind of a balance act. You gotta have a long thread, and you gotta know how to use it. So I'm gonna cut this excess off right now, just to get it out of the way, just a little bit. And we have to run from the outside of the ship to the inside, through the hole that I made, which you may or may not be able to see that hole right there. And I'm going to try and get that in there. Well, it's there. It doesn't want to push through. Have to. Come on, gotta talk nicely. So even though you got, see, and I thought these holes would be, I thought they would be too big, honestly, and I was like, oh, they're gonna look horrible. But in actuality, they're the right size. The thread is just being stubborn. So weird. Alright, come on, you. Go, go, go. Oh, I don't know why that doesn't want to go. Go to your home. Go to your home, little thread. Come on. There it is. Nope. You know, it's so weird because that is a clean, straight through hole. I mean, look at that. I mean, that is through. There's nothing in the way blocking it, but it is not. There we go. Alright, grab the tweezer. Since I don't have my little... There you go. I feel like a doctor. Now we have to very carefully make sure that the thread is on the back side of all those arms of the mast and pull tight. And then it goes, it wraps, okay, it's going to wrap above the mast. So what I got to do is run this up. Let's see if I can turn this so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. I'm going under the thread that's already here and right on top of that there mast, and it's holding, don't fall. I'm going to carefully grab the tweezer and grab that tip. There it is. And now we're going to pull that through. Now actually though, you know what? I think I went on the wrong side because it's got to come down the other side. So let me run it on the other side here. Because I got to run it through, because it actually has to come down to the other side of the ship. Yes. Okay, so far so good. Make sure it's on the bottom of stuff. Oh, get it off that arm. There we go. Now, just have to have it running on. Thing is, it's just hitting that stand where people are. So technically, I should have drilled that middle hole further back. So learn from my mistake and probably put that middle hole possibly between these two guns right there. That way it's not hitting on this little stand there, I guess, where your snipers and whatnot will be, your Marines. That's actually supposed to go up. Let's see, where is it? Actually, yeah, it says it goes there, and then it's going to come out and eventually back up to the top, and then, you know, circle around to the front. Okay, so we'll put it there. So not perfect as far as the rigging look goes, but you know, again, I had to figure this out by trial and error because there are no instructions. So learn from me. Put the holes just a little bit further back so they avoid some of the stuff here sticking out on that mast. Oh, learn from my mistakes. Okay, so now what I gotta do is grab the tweezer, and I have to put this now from the inside out. And that's tough. So I got it on the tweezer. that's going to be tough to get. Like I said, I wish I had my other tweezers, but I can't find them. Oh, I see the thread. It's hitting the hole. I know you can't see it all. Alright, that thread is being very uncooperative, so I got to keep it moist so it stays stiff a little bit, so I can try and push it through that hole. I know none of that sounded very nautical, but okay, come on. Oh, that's going to be the death of me. That one is being very, very, very stubborn. Alright, so we're going to try a tip that I saw from somebody. They said just rub a little bit of super glue on the end of your thread, and that will make that even more stiff. So we won't be using that on anything, but hopefully that will keep that from bending, because it's like hitting on the outside of the hole and then bending and getting all crooked. So by rubbing the super glue on the end of that thread, I'm hoping that will keep it together and help it not be so destructive of itself. Alright, and now let's try again. And the problem is getting an angle so I can get from the inside to the out. Let's see, maybe I can push it through this way. We're going to push it through like that. Okay, I see the hole. So first of all, I got to grab it this way. I bumped it with my head, the camera, sorry. Yeah, it's there in the hole, but it does not want to go through the hole. Yeah, that didn't work with the glue. I know I should pause the camera here. Alright, I'm going to pause. Once I get that in, we'll come back. Well, lucky me. As soon as I paused the video and then tried it after I said a few bad words, went right through. And so now I'm trying to pull this tight so that things are not all bumpity bumpity. Alright, but we got to figure out. Okay, so this is on the wrong side of the mast. So again, it's just a matter of getting things on the appropriate sides. Oh, shoot. It went through, but it got caught on one of the other rigging lines. Oh no! So I got to pause, pull it out, and try again. Hold on. Okay, well I yanked that out and then reran it, and again we got it. We got it right. Yay. So lucky. Okay. I guess I didn't need to pause, but I thought you wouldn't want to see that part. So let me get this on the other side of the arms. Off of that. And get this off of there as much as possible. Okay. So right now we've got right there, that middle mast. And we're going to pull this up, because it's going to wrap around the middle here. It's going to catch this spot that's already there. And what I am going to do is I'm going to do a loop. I'm going to do a single knot on there. That way it actually sits more level when I glue it in place onto that mast. Or at least that's my hope. Okay. So I got the single loop coming. Single loop on the way. And we're going to put the little dab of glue to catch this new bit of thread. Which actually has to go this way. Alright, hold on here. Because I got to have all that excess thread. I'm just going to move this loop down a little bit. Alright. That's pulling too tight. Alright, come here. Alright, hold on, let me fix that. Okay, so after a couple bad words, I've got the middle lines on, and because again the hole placement on the hull was not optimally back far enough, it's just causing the lines not to look as pretty as I would like, but they're in. So what I'm doing now is I'm just cutting off some of this excess thread and trying to avoid cutting necessary thread. And then we should be good here. Alright, so there is that. So that middle is done, and now we've got the middle stabilizing rigging in on that mast and along the tops. So far so good. Because then it shows on the next step. That was this step here, the long middle. Then we have, this will be the front, same thing, using the, hopefully those holes are in the right spot. See here, on this picture, it shows that hole a little bit further back. I should have gone much further back. I'll know that on the next one I do. But these other holes, they're not too far back. Well, those are kind of far back. Well, the Mac one I got in a pretty good spot. But anyway, what we have to do now is do that whole long process here on the front mast down to the very front of the bowsprit. Now see here, I did tie this off down here, but I probably could have gone up here even, because this next one is going to go here and there's going to be a pretty big gap between those lines. So could I rewrap that? I could. Am I going to? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that'll be the last one. Nah, we'll leave it. We'll leave it. Yeah, because what I'm talking about is like from this point down here, normally on the frigate would be in the right spot, but here maybe would be better on this first rate. If I do another first rate, we'll mess it up like that. So now we're just going to get another long piece of thread. Yeah, this is the only first rate I got. It's the one that came with the British Navy starting set. I thought about getting the French separately, the French first rate. That way then when I do, battles, I tell you, the first rate ship, this resin and pewter stuff, is not making me very excited about getting another first rate in this scale. If this was all plastic, I don't think I'd have any problem shelling out money to get another one. I'd be like, yes, let's do it. Let's get some more. Because this is definitely a bit of a challenge. Okay, so we've got some thread here. I'm going to pull out again an unusually long length so I can make sure it wraps around everything properly. Boop. And we're going to, this one is going to go at the tip of that mast. Tip of that top mast right there. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-knot this with a single knot, and then glue it to the tip. put a dab here at the top. And yep, come on glue. Come on thread, get down just a little bit. There we go. Pull tight. Oh, it's jumping all over the place. There we go. Close enough. Oh, it just popped off. No! There we go. And now it doesn't want to pull tight because the glue is drying already. Alright, so I'm going to glue that in place. So that one did not get as tight to the mass as I wanted as far as pulling that knot because some glue got there. And alright, so we're going to give that a second to dry on its own. Oh, okay. Now we have to start getting this. So remember, it's from the outside in up to this middle here, to this middle one, wrap around it, then from the inside out, back up to the top, and then to the front of the bowsprit. No problem. No problem. We got this. Got a hole right there. And I swear, got it. Alright, it's in. Now I just gotta see if I can grab the thread with the tweezer. Got it. Alright, so far so good. Again, these tweezers are terrible. Alright, don't talk bad about the tools, or the tools will remember that. Yep, that's a good spot for the hole on that one, because that's not catching anything. So the other holes I placed in pretty good spots. Just that middle one was horrible, but the very back and this one here at the front, those are in good positions. Okay, so now what I gotta do is figure out, now it says it's on the bottom, or at least it goes along the top of the mast, and that's what we'll do. So I'm gonna run this through underneath that thread, around the top of that arm of that mast. Let me see here. Nope, I'm going to do this on the front, and then it will wrap around. Okay, so what I did was I ran it up. It's going to go across the top of that arm right there, and then pull down. And that way I shouldn't have to glue it there. It'll just rest on top of that arm. And then we got to go from the inside out. And that's where we have the problems. Now we're going to see if I can do this in one take without having to pause and then fight with it. Alright, so I'm going to grab the tweezers. I'll put those, I'm going to push the thread through. You gotta get underneath all the other rigging, so I'm not pulling on the other rigging. Alright, here we go. Push, push, push. Oh, I can't even see it to know if we're getting it. Oh, there it is. It just gets stuck on like the inside of the hole that I've made, and it won't push through. So I'm pushing through, but it's not going. Okay, we got it. Got it, got it, got it. Okay. Second try. Not first try, but second try. Alright, now I gotta make sure though it goes on the back side of the arms here of the mast. Let me grab that. Nice. That looks much better. Okay, so what I'm going to do is cut this excess here from the top, because that's had a chance to dry. And then I'm going to wrap again, because remember now we got to wrap around the top of it. I can use the glue that's already there is going to help hold that in place. Then it's going to wrap around the tip of the bowsprit. So I'm going to put a dab of glue. And I'm going to try not to pull super tight, because that's when you start to really create a lot of slack. So it's just kind of a lazy wrap. I'll let the glue do its work. Single wrap. And then it says to wrap it here at the bottom of this thing. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue there. Oh, we're getting it. It's coming along a lot better. There we go. I'm going to double wrap that. And then just put the glue on it. There we go. Okay, cut the thread. Alright, there it is. So now we have the front mast has now got those side riggings on it. And that's all the ship rigging. Now, again, you can see where we're starting to get some slack in a few spaces, but it's actually not as bad as I thought. The masts are starting to hold up a little bit better, but you can see I'm starting to really rub the paint off. So yeah, if y'all have a suggestion on a good matte spray that doesn't mist everything white and you lose all the detail of your painting, let me know, because that will definitely help the next time I do these ships, because I have to go back and repaint a lot of parts, which, you know, we'll do, but it is a pain. Okay, so the last part here is the bowsprit. I know this is kind of zoomed in, apologize, but I don't want to have to move the camera all the time. But planning, so what we'll do, because you start here, go to the tip, wraps around part of the ship here into the middle, looks like it wraps around a couple times and back. What they do actually here is I run it and run one, but what they do is they actually run two separate lines. See, what I do is I wrap it, wrap it, wrap it, wrap it, wrap it, wrap it, wrap it in one big piece of thread. Here they do it twice. So they go from here to here to here to here and tie it off, and then here. And what they do, and that might actually be pretty good, because then they wrap it on this side. Normally, if we do it the way I do, you got to wrap it around this way on the bowsprit, and that might not be correct. Again, when you're a couple feet away from it, you don't notice it, but when you get up close, and now that I've printed these out and I got the pictures big, I can see now that they did it twice, and they wrapped it around this side, running alongside the bowsprit. So we might try that. That will be a little bit of a pain, because see, here, instead of having one arm, right, I've got two, so I'm going to have to do a thread, run the thread here, run the thread here, run the thread to, I'm guessing, this part of the ship here, and then wrap it around. I guess we're going to wrap it around here. That's what we'll do. So 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 points, and then one wrap there. Okay, so let's give that a shot. So we're going to cut our thread. Again, we're going to make a single knot at the tip of the bowsprit. So the bowsprit has some glue there already, so I'm hoping I don't have to put more. I'll just use what's there. Pull tight. Yeah, the glue there caught it. Now I am going to put some glue on the tip, and tip so I can wrap, wrap, wrap. Okay. Wish me luck. Tip, tip, and tip. Alright, here we go. Tip. Oops. Alright. Tip. 1. Tip. 2. Wrap. Glue. Tipped. Okay. And 3. Yeah, and it doesn't want to catch that bottom one. Ooh. Come on, you. I know you want to. Alright, so what we're going to do is put it there, and we're going to let the glue kind of dry to it a little bit. We're going to let the glue do some work, and then we'll wrap it up and wrap around that middle part there. That might not be as bad as I thought it would be. That might look okay. That might not be accurate. That might not be historically correct at all. But for our purposes, I think that will work out pretty good. Alright, so now we're going to take it and tweezer pull the thread through, because we're going to wrap it once around that middle section. So I'm going to put a little glue there. That was a lot of glue. If you could see how much that was not a little glue. That was a lot. But now I'm going to have to play operation and pull that thread up and around so that we get the proper wrap that we want. Whoa, whoa, come on. You know you want to. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Kind of wrapped in the wrong spot though. And thank goodness I put all that glue. So it didn't quite wrap the way I wanted because of the glue situation. But you know what though? I can trim some of that. There you go. See, that's one side. See there? And let me trim that excess. I think we'll be okay. Let me find my scissors. Try to get as close as I can and cut. Yeah, and then I'm gonna cut some of this thread. Yeah, I might just leave it. Yeah. Okay, so that's one side. Oh, let's cut this tip. Oh my gosh. You might be asking yourself right now, is this worth it? Is it worth doing all of this? Yeah. Especially when you get to the end and it's like, you know, that looks kind of cool. It looks kind of cool. I haven't even got the sails on yet, but now we've got a bunch of rigging. That looks pretty cool. And trust me, there's folks out there. I looked at some folks in their first-rate ships. They've got a lot more rigging than this, and they look really cool. So is it worth it? Yeah, that's a question you'll have to answer for yourself. But I think when it's done, that's when you can say, yeah, that was worth it. Because we are almost done here as far as the rigging goes. I'm not done as far as painting. You know, we've already talked about that because that's a pain. But I got my single knot here. And I am going to drop a fresh bit of glue here just at the end, just because that's been there a while. It's probably drying out a little bit. So we're going to put that on there and then pull this knot tight. Okay, the knot does not want to pull tight. Alright, so we're going to cut that off. Try again. Some glue got in there, I think. Alright, so once more, we're going to tie a little knot, single knot. And then here we go. Pull tight, pull tight, pull tight. Alright, we got that tie. Oh, it just slid right off the end. Gosh darn it! Alright, cut, cut, cut. I'm going to run out of thread if I keep doing that. Okay. Now ask me, is it worth it? Oh man, bad words, bad words. Alright, come on, get that single knot going, please. So if you were to ask me, what did I do in the Army? Well, I was a combat engineer. Why would I mention that? Because one of the jobs we did was we tied lots of knots for different things. And those skills are not helping me at all today. Alright, just thought I'd point that out. Okay, boom. We've got the thread. So now we're going to hit those 4 tips. Well, that's 1 tip, 2 tip. That's number 2 tip, that's number 3 tip, and that will be number 4 tip. So number 1 tip is good. So again, we're going to put a little bit here on the tip, on the tip. So tip, tip, and this tip here. Alright, then we do a little wrap, catch the glue, a wrap, catch the glue, and then this did not wrap at all, but we're going to have it touch and just take a moment to dry. Oh yeah, it's working that time. And then we're going to wrap around the middle here and hopefully catch better. So tweezer it through and then tweezer it through. Yep. Like that. I'm going to pull that tight a little bit. Now I gotta get this way over. This is gonna be snug against, let me see here, where, yeah, it's being stubborn. It doesn't want to go over here. So I'm gonna see if I can pull it. Okay, I can see why I did around the top. Okay, let's rerun that. Just a little bit of talking it through helps a lot when you're trying to figure out what you're doing here. A lot of conversations. What did I do wrong with my life? Alright, there it is. So we're going to go this way. There we go. So we're going to pull that tight. I'm going to grab just a dab. This one is wrapping more in line with what I wanted the first one to do. So we're going to just wrap that up, and without it falling out, let's see here. Yeah, I wonder if I can hold that there for a moment and then grab it with the tweezers. There we go. That's much better. Yeah. almost much better. Run that through here. There we go. Now we've got that wrapped tight around the front. I'm letting the glue dry as we speak. There you go. Now we have a matching front. Okay, we're going to let that dry for 2 seconds. I can cut this now. Now see, in doing all that, well, it looked like it slacked up just a little bit. Yeah. Overall, it doesn't look too bad. So that front is done. And I'm going to cut that now. See if I can cut this off. There we go. And now you've got that front bowsprit done. So we'll just do it that way. So even though we don't have instructions for it, that is a best guess on my part. Alright, now I'm going to have to take a moment and think about how I want to best tackle some of these loose lines, and then we'll come back and show you once we have it all in place. But this is essentially it. So just some takeaways real quick before I do that is when you drill your holes, make sure you drill them back far enough from the mast. That way when the lines are running up and down, you're not catching parts on the mast. Like, I didn't think that through. I wasn't sure how those would hit, but that's probably the biggest thing. And then the fact that if you want those sidelines for the mast, you got to drill a hole in the first place. So just something else to keep in mind. And if you are curious, if you did watch this all the way through, this is something my wife got for me off of Amazon. So Amazon.com. So I'm sure you can find something similar. It's like a hobby drill. Mine only came with one bit, but I have seen these in stores where they come with like a different size bits. But the bit that I used here, I thought at first was too big, but actually those holes were just as a pain in the butt to get through as the plastic ships. So no problem there. And then the other thing is, yeah, paint your ship, because, you know, it would be hard now to go back and paint the masts, but get a spray or something to protect it. Again, if someone could recommend a good spray to use so I don't have to go back and repaint everything all the time, that'd be great, because see, you can tell it's really worn off the cannon, so I have to go back and redo the cannons, which, you know, is fine. I did them the first time through, I'll do them again. Alright, so I'm going to take a moment, tighten these lines up, and then we'll see how it looks when it's all done. Alright, thank you very much. Alright, so I don't know if it looks any different, but here up close we did pull some slack out of the lines, and so they mostly look good. And the masts are mostly straight up and down. I'm afraid to fiddle with them too much, because then that will just reset a lot of work I did trying to take slack out of the lines. But that is part of it, is, you know, make sure the masts are good. They're okay. They're mostly alright. I have to admit, the pewter is a bit of a challenge to work in, but ultimately I don't think it was the worst material. Definitely just something new for me to get used to, because I know that, you know, other first rates will be this way. But if Warlord is watching this, please let me know when the plastic first rates are coming, because that would be immensely good. But there you go. That, after all of that, if you watch this, I do appreciate that. Hopefully you got to see this from beginning to end. And that's what the finished product is going to look like. You know, again, if I was going to pick just a drawback, it was that there wasn't instructions for this specifically as far as the hole placement. But I know now that if you're going to do that one, and if this is what your first rate looks like, just make sure that these are far enough back that when you run the thread up, it's gonna clear these parts. That's about it. Otherwise, I think you can kind of figure it out. But we'll repaint it. I'll eventually put sails on it, and then we'll have a finished ship. And that's it. thank you so much for, putting up with that video. If you watch the whole thing, kudos to you. I really appreciate that. If you just skip through the parts that you want, well, I still appreciate you taking the time to skip through it and check things out. And we'll be doing some other videos later. Thanks a lot. Bye.